Terp fans, your Maryland baseball team is on fire. We'll be going all in on the Dirty Terps, tell you who should be on your MLB Draft watch list, highlight the top plays of the season so far, and more. All that coming up on the Left Bench in Focus.
Hello and welcome to the first edition of we like to call the Left Bench in Focus. I'm Nathan Schwartz.
And I'm Elana Mutnick. For years, TLB has put together a bi-weekly studio show to keep you informed on all things Maryland sports. But we've decided to go a step further. In between our usual shows, the Left Bench in Focus will dive deeper into your favorite Terp squads, and that starts today with Maryland baseball.
But before we can look at this team with a closer lens, we've got to recap its latest weekend series. The Dirty Terps kicked off their Big Ten home opener on Friday night hosting Penn State, and they did so with a bang, securing a thrilling 8-4 win. Nick Dean exemplified perfectly exactly why he's the number 67 pitcher in the country, pitching for 6 innings and allowing only 4 hits, making it difficult for the Nittany Lions to touch the plate. The energy continued on the Terps' offensive side when Maxwell Costas and Nick LaRusso each scored a run, and Bobby Smarzak slammed the ball out of the park for the first homer of the night. The Nittany Lions brought some talent out of their own as 3 players each scored runs to put them in the lead come the 7th inning. But their reign ended there as Luke Schliger and Chris Aline each added a run to the board. And who else than Aline to step back up to the plate and absolutely crush the ball for a 3-run homer, securing that first win of the weekend series.
Maryland was looking to keep that momentum rolling into Saturday and clinch the series in 2, but the Nittany Lions had other plans for Rob Vaughn's squad. Ryan Ramsey did not disappoint in his 8-inning outing, racking up 8 strikeouts and only dishing out 2 walks. The Terps started strong, notching 2 runs from Luke Schliger and 1 from Sean Lane by the end of the 3rd. Maryland held Penn State scoreless through 5 innings, but couldn't fight off the Nittany Lions' 6th-inning rally. The Terps had a few chances with runners on, but couldn't connect, and 9 innings weren't enough to decide this one, heading into the 10th tied at 3 apiece. That 10th inning proved lethal for Maryland. Penn State scored 3 in the top of the 10th to secure their lead, and Maryland's single run from Nick LaRusso failed to match that, falling to the Nittany Lions 6-4, marking the Terps' first loss at home this season.
And that loss on Saturday meant that on Sunday, it was time for a rubber match. It was a savvy Sunday at the Bob, as Jason Savicul got the starting nod for Maryland, and he was absolutely dominant. Through 7 innings of work, the sophomore righty only gave up 1 run on 5 hits, striking out 13 Nittany Lions, getting all of his outs via the strikeout in the first 3 innings. On the offensive side of things, Kevin Keister's bat was hot as he crushed his 3rd homer of the season, and Nick LaRusso had another great performance at the plate, going 2 for 3 with 4 RBIs, including a 3-run homer in the 4th. The dominant pitching and early offensive surge let Maryland coast to a 7-2 victory and get the series win over Penn State.
The Terps are in the thick of their season now. They'll host local foe George Mason today at 3 p.m., and Wednesday's game against Navy has been postponed to April 26th. They'll resume conference play with a weekend series against Minnesota in Minneapolis starting on Friday. Maryland will then take on James Madison in Harrisonburg on the 13th and come back to the Bob for a weekend series with Ohio State. After that, it's another local matchup with Towson on the 19th. Be sure to catch TLB's coverage of all those home games.
We're now very excited to be joined by Maryland Baseball Network's Director of Broadcasting and resident expert on all things Dirty Terps, Matt Levine. Matt, thanks for joining us.
Thank you guys for having me.
All right, so as we've said, the Terps' 22-6 record has them at their best start in program history. So who on the team would you say have been playing the biggest roles in helping them get to that point?
I think this season it's really been top to bottom in all 9 players in the batting order, and the 3 starting pitchers on the weekend have been spectacular. They're up there for the best in the country. All 3 have been named top 100 in the nation as well. So when you have a guy like Luke Schliger leading off your batting order, and he's a machine at scoring runs, he's a machine at getting on base, and he's a catcher who steals 10 bags already, that's just an engine that they need. You pass it off to your 5th-year center fielder who's been the leadoff hitter the last 4 years. It's just a veteran lineup and also a young lineup, but the young players are starting to really take on that role and contribute every single game. So it's been really all 9 players that start games have been contributing, and I think that's leading into the success.
Now, we all know how well the starting pitchers on the weekend have been with Dean, Ramsey, and Savickle, but those midweek starters have been a bit inconsistent at times. So how much pressure is on guys like Ryan Van Buren and Logan Ott to step up in those midweek games?
I think there's a lot of pressure on those 2 guys, especially being that they're so young. Van Buren's a freshman. Logan Ott is a sophomore. Ott is a two-way player, too. So last year as a freshman, he pitched a little bit, played in the outfield a little bit. Now he's finding that role as a starter in the midweek games. So he's been successful, and so has Van Buren, but there's a lot of pressure for them to go maybe 4 innings every single time and then let the bullpen kind of finish it after that. But if they can't get to 4 innings, then your bullpen might be a little slim to go into the weekend. So there's definitely pressure for them to get to that point in the game where they can hand it off to the rest of the team to clean it up for them. But there's, I would say, more pressure on them that they're younger, especially as freshmen and sophomores.
All right, now through the same amount of games last season, Maryland was only 15-13, and that was a team that went to a regional and had Randy Bednar as well as Benjamin Cowles on it. So what has been the main difference for Maryland this season compared to last season that just has led to so much success?
They had so much success last season, but I think this year you're starting to get a more traditional college baseball season. You have midweek games, you have non-conference games. Last year was only Big Ten games, and there was no Big Ten tournament. So there was only 3 teams in the conference that made a regional. There should have been more, but there was only 3. And I think now we're starting to see that you can get your feet wet with those non-conference games, a little bit of weaker competition. Now you go into Big Ten play, you can run through that schedule as well. But it's more of an execution thing as a whole. Just when they have guys on base in scoring position, they tend to score. Last year, maybe there were times where they lost games because they didn't execute properly. And the pitching has just gotten so much better. They were good last year. Jason Savickle was an All-Big Ten freshman last year, but now he might be on pace to be an All-American at this point. So there's just a big jump that a lot of players have made.
Now, Nick LaRusso has been a pleasant surprise for Rob Vaughn and the rest of the coaching staff this season, doing it in really all phases of the game. So how has his impact as a dual-threat player impacted this team?
It's an incredible impact. I think he might have the biggest impact this season for a team that has had so much success. You can break it down any way you want, but to have a guy who can bat third, play third base, and pitch, and he's a transfer, it's just a massive addition for Rob Vaughn's group that maybe we didn't really know who was going to play third because Tommy Gardner decided not to use his extra year of eligibility. He's now the director of player development for the team. So when you have a guy that comes in, a new player, you don't really know what to expect. He struggled on the mound at Villanova, but now he's starting to find his role here as a starting third baseman, bats third, one of the best hitters on the team. He's leading the team in hits right now with 40 through 28 games, and he can pitch. There's not many guys in the country that can do both of those things well, and he does those things well in the same game sometimes. So it's just a massive addition.
Yeah, and it was announced by Baseball America that Maryland is projected to win the Big Ten and host an NCAA regional, something that's never been done in program history. So based on how they've been playing and their strength of schedule ahead, how likely do you think that is to happen for this squad, and what do you think they need to do to get there?
They're going to have to play the same exact way that they're playing right now to get there. But when you're 22-6 and 2-1 in the Big Ten, you're the team that has the target on their back, really, to go into Big Ten play. They were picked 4th by the coaches in the preseason. I'm sure if there was an updated poll now, that would change, and I would assume that they'd be number 1. But going into this, Rob Vaughn talked about this a couple of days ago as well, that usually, and when he was a player too at Kansas State, being a coach here at Maryland, it's usually been him trying to chase those teams that have the target on their back, and now Maryland's the team with the target. So he's going to try to coach this team in a way that they won't give up their lead in the standings. They won't fall to the teams that they should beat. And that's going to be the thing. They just have to execute down the stretch. I think they can definitely win the conference. They could win the Big Ten tournament too this year. And as far as hosting a regional goes, that would be a massive step for this program. They talk a lot about wanting to do things that have never been done before here. That's never been done before. So if they can do that, maybe win a regional, go to a super regional, there's just different strides that they're going to try to make this year with Rob Vaughn in his 5th season.
Well, Matt, that's all we got for you today. Thank you for coming on with us, and we look forward to seeing the rest of your coverage this season.
Appreciate you guys for having me. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
You can keep up with all of Matt's coverage on Twitter and tune into his broadcast at MarylandBaseballNetwork.com. And don't go anywhere, because when we've come back, we'll be crowning our top 3 plays we've seen from the Terps this season.
I'll tell you about the latest Terp sporting that coveted number 3 this year. and you'll get a preview at who should be on your MLB Draft watch list. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Left Bench in Focus.
The best start in program history has also accounted for quite a lot of jaw-dropping plays. So as we're now about halfway through the season, we've rounded up our top 3 plays we've seen so far. Nathan, start us off.
At number 3, we've got Troy Schreffler Jr. making this incredible diving catch in center field against Georgetown on March 14th. This play was so impressive it came in at number 8 on SportsCenter's top 10 plays of the day. Impressive range in center field from Troy, who isn't even the Terps' everyday center fielder. He got the opportunity in center and made the most of it.
At number 2, it's a play that's still fresh in everyone's minds. With 2 men on base, Chris Elana is the man of the hour, sending a bomb out of the park for a 3-run homer in the bottom of the 8th, solidifying an 8-4 Maryland win against Penn State on Friday night. Elana's been unstoppable this season, and this is exactly the stuff we're used to seeing from him at this point.
And coming in at number 1, what else but a walk-off winner? Matt Shaw smoked this fly ball down the right field line that just got over the wall and gave Maryland an improbable 10-9 come-from-behind win against the Georgetown Hoyas on March 11th. Shaw's walk-off was the second of the season for Maryland and the first in his young and promising career. Now, Elana, I don't know about you, but I was at that game against Georgetown when Matt Shaw hit that homer, and the bob went absolutely electric. I mean, who doesn't love a walk-off win?
I know. I was there, too, and I'd say out of those top 3 plays, I'd probably say that one was my favorite, too.
Absolutely. Now, we all know how jersey numbers have meaning for athletes, but for Maryland baseball, one player gets the privilege of wearing the number 3, which holds significant meaning to the team. And this year, that player is someone we've mentioned quite a few times now, Bubba Alleyne. I have the story on what the number 3 represents for the team and why Alleyne is the perfect fit to wear the number this season.
Alleyne, also known as Bubba, is one of Maryland baseball's brightest stars. But for Alleyne, his impact on the team runs deeper than just his play on the field. Alleyne wears the number 3, which holds great significance for Maryland baseball. Back when Rob Vaughn was an assistant coach for the team, he introduced 3 pillars that the hitters should strive to live by. But once he became the head coach, those 3 pillars transformed into something the whole roster would live by, as they became the staple for the culture of Maryland baseball.
Basically, that's what we do. Number 3 is worn by the guy that embodies our 3 pillars the most of toughness, ownership, and a growth mindset. Those are 3 things we talk about every day.
Alleyne is now playing in his 5th season for Maryland and has been one of the best outfielders in the nation this year. But having the honor of wearing the number 3 jersey is something he does not take lightly.
Yeah, so it's a great honor, especially coming down from the coaches and Papio who wore it before, knowing that they trust me to uphold the standard for that. And it's really exciting for me to be able to just be a leader for this team, for the guys younger than me, and just kind of like lay the way for the rest of them.
Alleyne is the 4th player to wear the special number 3 for Maryland, as Anthony Papio, Zach Jankarski, and Randy Bednar were the 3 other players to wear the jersey. Papio is now one of Coach Vaughn's assistants and has seen how Alleyne has taken on the responsibility of wearing the jersey.
And Bubba's grown a lot as a player. Bubba came in and he was a guy, he's always a competitor. That guy is a competitor to his core, but he's really grown and matured, through his 5 years here.
The number 3 jersey also comes with taking on a big leadership role, and as the season has progressed, Alleyne has earned the respect of not only his teammates, but also his coaches, as the main leader of this team.
As being someone they trust and someone they see those values in me, which is really awesome feeling to know that they think that of me.
That guy's the heart and soul of our team, and our team embodies everything that Bubba's living right now. So couldn't be a better pick to wear number 3 this year.
Brandon Lau and Lamont Wade to recent names like Sean Burke and Benjamin Cowles, we all know Maryland has sent its fair share of players to the majors.
But who might those players be this year? TLB's Kira Bruno is here to tell you which current Terps should be on your MLB Draft watch list. Kira?
Thanks, guys. We've actually got 6 players to go over today, speaking volumes about this 2022 roster. It's no secret that the Dirty Terps have a solid squad this season, having been ranked 22nd in the polls at the beginning of the season and being off to their best start since 2007. But we know the dream for so many collegiate players is to get called up to the big leagues. So we're going to take a closer look at the potential some of the stars of this season have to make it to the major leagues as the MLB Draft looms ahead in July. Starting us off strong is junior pitcher Ryan Ramsey. Ramsey has been on fire this season, having pitched a total of 46.1 innings so far, only allowing 12 runs and 28 hits with an ERA of 2.33 and a whip of .99. He was also named Big Ten Pitcher of the Week recently. Talk about a beast that can certainly turn heads in the MLB. Staying on the pitcher's mound, Nick Dean has also had an exceptional season. He's ranked at 387 in the top 400 prospect list for the 2022 draft. Although it's near the bottom, he's the only Terp to be on that list. With an ERA of 3.48, whip of 1.16, and only 16 runs in 33.2 innings pitched, Dean is someone people should absolutely be keeping their eyes on. Up next, it's a name you might commonly associate with slamming one out of the park. That's right, it's senior infielder Maxwell Costas. Costas' 34 career home runs has him currently tied for the second most in program history. With the highest OPS on the team of a 1.118 and 10 homers this season, which is also the highest on the team, I don't think anyone would be surprised to hear Costas' name called in this year's draft, as this stellar season even close to over for him. Another standout this season has been junior outfielder Troy Scheffler Jr., who is the highest batting average on the team, coming in at a hot .355 and an OPS of .992. He was also awarded Big Ten Player of the Week recently. Scheffler has already turned heads the last few weeks as a junior, so even if he doesn't draw as many eyes in the draft this year, he certainly has a shot his senior season if he keeps things up. Last but most certainly not least, Chris Elana and Bobby Zamarzlak are eligible for the draft this year, and the two outfielders have been making names for themselves. Elana was named to the second team All-Big Ten list last year thanks to his stellar performance and has not lived that down yet. He's currently at a .277 batting average after 112 at-bats. He's also got a .959 OPS for the season so far. Elana is right behind Costas in home runs, tallying up 8 after slamming a 3-run homer this past weekend against Penn State. Moving on to Zamarzlak, who was named to the NCAA Greenville Regional All-Tournament team last year and continues to show persistence and dedication this season. He currently has a .250 batting average and .775 OPS and continues to get better every time he comes up to the plate. He has 4 home runs this season after he too hit a bomb so far out of the park this weekend. Penn State outfielders remain standstill. The MLB Draft will take place on July 17th, so these Terps still have a shot to give it their all if they want to make it in the big leagues. And with head coach Rod Bond right by their side, it's more than attainable. And what a win for Maryland fans everywhere that would be. Now, guys, just this past weekend, there was a game where there were so many fans there. Bleachers were packed, nowhere to sit. This is super exciting right now for the Maryland fans. And with the draft coming up, like I said, it could just remain that much more exciting, if not more.
Yeah, I think some of these Terps have a great shot at making it into the big leagues, especially with how this season's been going. It's been fantastic.
Yeah, and you mentioned how well those stands were packed, and I'm sure those guys that are in the draft process are saying, wow, we have a really big fan turnout right now, and it wants to keep them going and make them perform better. Thanks, Kira.
Thanks, Kira.
Well, that does it for our first edition of the Left Bench in Focus. We hope you'll join us again on April 19th as we go all in on the unstoppable Maryland men's lacrosse team.
And as always, be sure to keep up with all of our coverage of Maryland athletics on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We'll see you next time.